Every major achievement in human history began with delusion. Someone daring to dream what others believed to be impossible. And many people who understand this concept end up using delusion in the wrong way. They set a near impossible goal of making $1 million in 3 months, retiring their families, or just trying to gain 30 pounds of muscle in 3 weeks. Meanwhile, they're armed with a weak skill set, no foundation of basic living, no guide, no plan, strictly a delusional vision. And then when they attempt to execute on this goal, they ultimately fail. They make little to no progress, and they successfully lower their self-confidence, self-esteem, and then they have the nerve to say that it's impossible after only trying for 2 weeks before giving up. Now, I want you to note that these individuals are starting with an incredibly weak foundation. Now, a name might pop up to mind when you think of someone that has this. He has an inconsistent sleep schedule, he does little to no physical activity, he has a poor diet and eats unhealthy, he watches porn and doom scrolls on social media, and arguably most importantly, he doesn't self-educate. These people are truly delusional for thinking they even stood a chance of making any progress in life, let alone their goals. But here's the catch, because it is possible to be delusional and still make life-changing accomplishments. We just need to be strategic in how we do so. And in our context, we're going to learn how to strategically incorporate delusion into our lives so that we can make what might seem impossible achievable for ourselves. Because believe it or not, delusion has actually been used quite a few times in human history. Now let me tell you about the delusion of flight. Great achievements have often started with an audacious belief that defies conventional wisdom. I mean, think about it for a sec. Do you truly believe that the technology that we have today was based off of common knowledge? Of course not. We've often had to use innovation and delusion to create new things. I mean, think of our smartphones, our computers, the cars that we drive, the airplanes that we fly. Anything that we are using on a day-to-day basis was created from the combination of innovation and delusion, such as one of mankind's greatest achievements, and I'm talking about the power of human flight. Respectively to the timeline of humanity, we only recently discovered that we had the ability to fly. Now let me take you back to an earlier date. The time is currently October 7th, 1903. Samuel Langley, an American engineer and physicist, was made a laughingstock and ridiculed by the New York Times when he actually attempted to try and fly his aircraft, but he almost immediately crashed right after takeoff. And it's funny because in today's world, we don't think twice when we say the words like, yeah, bro, I just booked the flight to Paris for the summer, or I'm about to go visit my girlfriend halfway across the fucking ocean. We don't think twice about saying that. But if we were to say those very words, or even say that humanity would achieve the power of flight back in the early 20th century, people would definitely be giving you looks, and you would definitely be labeled as delusional or even psycho. Now, crazily enough, the New York Times even made a bold statement in that same editorial titled "Flying Machines Which Do Not Fly," and they said that flight would only be possible within 1 to 10 million years through the combined efforts of mathematicians and engineers. Obviously, that was false, because if you look around, we're now able to pretty much fly anywhere that we choose across the world. And another thing is, 9 weeks later, and you guys might actually know this story, but on December 17th, 1903, this is the story of the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They succeeded with the world's first successful flight, and this is one of mankind's greatest milestones, which is to fly a vehicle or a craft heavier than air itself. And I know this doesn't seem impressive because, I mean, if you look around, we already have reached it. I want you to take a look at a different perspective, because from the 1900s, and only a century later, we now have developed artificial intelligence, we have vehicles that drive on autopilot, we have smartphones with access to over 95% of the world's human history and human knowledge at the palm of your hands. I mean, think about it that way, and we have the ability to do so much more in the upcoming times. But honestly speaking, humanity has only been able to develop so quickly due to the innovations and delusions of others. And if you want another real-life example, I mean, take a look at Elon Musk. He can also be seen as straight-up delusional or even labeled as crazy because he has the goal of making planetary travel accessible for humans. Here's another thing I want you to understand. Understanding proper delusion in performance. So, what does delusion and the power of flight have to do with you and joining the top 1% of human achievements? Now, I'm assuming that you're not here trying to build the world's first like teleportation device or time travel machine, and that you're trying to hit something more feasible like making $1 million or retiring your family, finding a wife, or maybe even achieving 10% body fat. But if you are aiming to change humanity, then thank you in advance for contributing to society. Going back to the topic, delusion, more specifically, strategic delusion. It's the belief in our abilities to accomplish what might seem impossible. Strategic delusion keeps our emotions of fear and risk in check. These emotions are often responsible for our inaction and our reluctancy and hesitancy when it comes to trying to make progress towards our goals. Now, I'm not saying that being risk averse or being fearful is a bad thing. It's the opposite. Being risk averse just means that we don't put all of our eggs in one basket and potentially screw ourselves over, depending on the goal. And being fearful helps us make those safe decisions. The only problem here is that you've probably been risk averse and fearful for some reason for quite some time now, especially when it comes to chasing after those dreams that might seem impossible to reach at this moment. Maybe it's time to instill a sense of delusion. But how delusional do we have to be? With an obvious reason, you need to have a solid foundation and resources to actually work with. You need the delusional belief in yourself that if you put in enough effort and enough consistency and wit, that you will inevitably reach your goals of achieving what might seem like the top 1% to everyone else. So the question remains, why use delusion for accomplishing our ambitions, and how does this even work? Let me tell you about the self-efficacy theory and delusion. Albert Bandura was a highly influential Canadian-American psychologist, and he's often credited for his theory of self-efficacy. He emphasizes that our belief in our own abilities increases our resiliency and boosts our chances of success when it comes to taking on new challenges. When we combine self-efficacy with strategic delusion, which is our unwavering belief in our potential to achieve the impossible, we unlock something even greater, a bigger motivation to pursue ambitious goals. And for us to better understand this concept and how to efficiently use strategic delusion with the theory of self-efficacy, there's 4 sources of energy that influence our success that we need to pay close attention to. The first one is called mastery experience, also known as personal success. The second one is vicarious experience, also known as observational learning. The third one is verbal persuasion, also known as encouragement. And lastly, we have physiological and emotional states. Let's cover mastery experience, which is personal success. Whenever we successfully make money from our business or create content on social media, or we hit our PRs at the gym, or even successfully ask a girl out, we gain experience which builds our personal belief and confidence in ourselves to handle similar challenges. Now, the opposite could be said the same for when we fail. Therefore, getting in the reps for tasks that relate to our delusional dreams and towards our goals, it plays a crucial role in actually getting there. The second one is vicarious experience, which is observational learning. The most common thing that all of us like to do when it comes time to try and achieve any form of success is we often look at someone else that's already reached the life that we want to live, sort of like our role models. For me, I saw digital nomads on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and I decided to copy them by starting my own business. And a vicarious experience, it comes in the form of just observing other people successfully accomplishing goals in turn, which means that by us seeing other people do that thing in which we want, that have succeeded, it increases our belief that if they can do it, then why can't we? Now, the third energy I want to cover is the verbal persuasion, which is also known as encouragement. I remember when I used to work out in a group with my friends, and we would chase after breaking PRs, especially when it came to like benching and like doing deadlifts. You might as well just call it ego lifting. I think it's just a guy thing. I still have the video of me deadlifting 325 pounds while only weighing 130, and I didn't think that this would be possible because I only had 1 month of gym experience at the time. But the thing is, my friends were all there and they were hyping me up, and I did it.
Come on! Let's go! Let's go! Yeah! Lock it out!
Verbal persuasion comes in a form of positive reinforcement and verbal support from others. Think of like your peers, friends, or just people that you trust and that you respect. Now, when you hear words of encouragement, this also increases self-belief or self-efficacy that we have the ability to reach our goals. Now, the last one is physiological and emotional states. I don't think this isn't really talked about enough. At least I don't think so, because if it was, then all the therapists, counseling, and these fitness coaches would go out of business. Stress, anxiety, fatigue, it can reduce our confidence, while positive emotions can do the opposite and actually enhance it. If we can figure out how to take care of ourselves properly and keep our mental health in high regards, as well as our physical health at an all-time high, then we also boost our self-efficacy. And it's so easy to do this because all you need to do is meditate, go to the gym, eat healthy, and just find efficient ways of managing your stress. Why delusion matters to self-efficacy? I've never utilized strategic delusion until the summer of 2023. This is where I actually accidentally discovered it, and my mentor implanted this phenomenon inside of my mind. So he invited me to work with him on his sales agency and to completely just build it from scratch. So his goal that he had was to make $1 million in cash collected within the next 3 months. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This is a 7-figure entrepreneur, and for me, I've never made more than $20,000 in a single month before. So hearing those words, it just sounded crazy to me. And when I tell you that this number of $1 million in 90 days just sounded absolutely insane, it did. I laughed at him and I said, yo, get the fuck out of here. That's not happening. But then I turned back and I looked at his face and I saw that he was dead serious. And then I'm here wondering, I'm like, how the hell are we going to do that? Long story short, we worked together with me doing most of the creative work on the system side of things. I had to create a strategy in which this would happen. So I didn't really have a choice. It just had to work. It's like, hypothetically speaking, if you had to make $1 million within 90 days or 3 months, how would you do it? And that's when the creative part of my mind started ticking. And the fun part of this was I ended up doing all this by myself. But here's the thing. Here are the results. We spent 2 months creating a foundation. Think of like studying everything that has to do with business, product management, client success, sales, and marketing. So we spent 2 months doing that. And then on the third month, we made $200,000. And this was double his personal record. And now you understand why that when it comes to goal setting, you set a goal so far out of reach that people end up laughing at you, that it seems impossible. You want to make a goal so far-fetched that even the New York Times prints out an editorial turning your failure into a laughingstock. That's how far you want to fucking go. But the thing is, when I look back, I see how Bender's theory of self-efficacy played such a strong role. Because my mentor's strategic delusion forced him to work 16 plus hour days for 3 months straight. And me just being in that same environment, being in the same position, I also ended up doing the same. So I was working 16 hours per day every single day for the next 3 months. And I was able to do this without ever feeling burnt out or just wanting to quit. So I want you to think of it this way. If self-efficacy is the belief in one's abilities to achieve a goal, then strategic delusion becomes the exponential fuel that accelerates our capabilities. You may be starting to think that self-efficacy is just some positive mindset or self-talk, but it's so much more than that. Because this is the unshakable belief that you have the power to reshape your life, no matter how unlikely or how impossible it might seem to other people. And I need to remind you that strategic delusion is about daring to believe in your abilities and, more importantly, in yourself so deeply that your actions, they start reflecting on your beliefs, even if everyone else thinks that you're headed down to failure. Now that you understand how delusional goals must be met with this delusional sense of self-belief, there remains one more topic to cover: the 2 things in top 1% success. When you look at arguably successful people on the planet that have achieved the top 1% goals, such as the Wright brothers, Elon Musk, the guy who invented the wheel, I don't know his name, and for me personally, my sales mentor, there's 2 things that they have in common. They have a vision and they have a system. Now, no, I said a vision and not a goal, a system and not a plan. Now, I'm going to cover 2 actions that we can use for us to reach those delusional goals of ours. The first one is vision creation, which is just goal setting, but taking multiple steps further, covering the specifics of the results of achieving a life-changing goal. The second one is an infallible system. This is a step-by-step blueprint and plan that you can always rely on to keep you on the inevitable path to success. When it comes to goal setting, it's very commonly said that To properly do so is to set a target that's just within the border of failure, which is pretty hard to determine because most people, they haven't really taken the time to properly self-assess their abilities and just how good they are in a certain area of life. And setting a goal this way, it's actually a quick way to failure and seeing little to no progress. I mean, think about it this way, right? How many times have you tried to do goal setting and tried taking action? How much progress have you made? How many achievements worth sharing have you accomplished? Probably not enough, right? You're probably not satisfied and you probably want more. Now, the whole argument around goal setting is that rather than just setting something that borders failure, we should be choosing a target that when said out loud, it just seems unfeasible, silly, and just downright crazy. Your friends should be laughing at you and media should be making fun of you too. Not only that, when you think of setting a normal, realistic goal, does that inspire you? Probably not, right? I mean, if you want something more applicable to this situation, how many people have told you, yeah, I want to make 10K a month. Yeah, I want to lose 30 pounds. Yeah, I want to be 15% body weight. That doesn't motivate anyone, right? That sure as hell probably doesn't motivate you. Now, I'm going to tell you about something else. The power of vision creation. The whole purpose of a goal is for us to set the right direction to success. But I want to share something bigger and much more effective called vision creation. When we set goals, we don't consciously think about what happens as a result of accomplishing it, which is inefficient because we're not utilizing our emotions to drive our actions further. And the top 1% of mankind, they're all visionaries. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, they all have a vision that greatly contributed to the betterment of society, arguably. So if they have a vision, then by the vicarious learning that we talked about earlier, we should emulate what these guys have done, which is create a vision. Create one that's so colorful and vivid that when you close your eyes and you think about it, you can clearly see, feel, hear, touch, maybe even almost smell and taste the success. That's how you know that you've done it right. Now, I want to give you guys this simple prompt, a simple basic foundation of what you can ask yourself. Define what success looks like. Where do you live? What color is your house? What car do you drive? Who do you imagine to be by your side? Where are you right now? What are you doing? Why do you want to be successful? Why does it matter to you so much? This is the basic foundation of creating an effective vision. Of course, we can go deeper, but there's only so much that we can cover for this video. And if you want a deeper dive on how to create a vision, check out my free mini course down below called the Clarity Accelerator. It'll help you get clear on what you want and to create a step-by-step plan to get to your delusional goals. The second part is the infallible system. We are not the highest versions of ourselves which we can imagine. We are the lowest version of ourselves which we can accept. Understand that you will do nothing to achieve your dreams but fight like hell to not reach your standards. If you want to achieve your dreams and goals, you must turn them into irrefutable standards. Sam Ovens. When it comes to our goals, ambitions, or dreams, we won't put in the effort. It's just a desire which lacks substance and commitment. Sam is basically saying that we're only as good as our standards. In other words, you're only as good as your worst days. And I've attempted multiple times during my journey of entrepreneurship to build a profitable business that would allow me to become a digital nomad for over 3 years. And I've never been able to do so until the summer of 2023. This is what I tried doing. I tried to day trade a stock market. I lost $12,000. I tried drop shipping. I didn't care about shipping products from China that didn't contribute to society. I tried copywriting. I was way too nervous to do outreach, and I didn't have the self-confidence to believe in my own services. And then I tried to do time management coaching. I didn't know how to market, how to sell, or even how to create a product. And the reason for why I failed was because I didn't have a system that would bring me there. A bulletproof, fail-safe system. An infallible system that I could always rely on to get me there. Let me ask you a quick question. If you had a way to work optimally, no matter how much you didn't feel like working, and you were able to do this consistently, what would that do for you? Now, what if you were able to produce high quality work like you always did on your best days, but this time you could replicate it on your worst days too? Now, what if you maintained that level of productivity for a month? What progress would you make on your business? What about your life? What about your weight loss or muscle gain? How about finding the perfect girlfriend? Now, what if you spent 2 months doing this? 1 year? 3 years? Do you see what I'm getting at? Those dreams of yours that might sound downright impossible right now, it's just your mind being unable to comprehend how it's even going to happen. But if you were to work optimally for the next 1 to 3 years, does that goal still sound impossible? Don't you think that there's still a slim chance of making it work? Of course you do. Because the life that you want, it's already been made possible by those above you. I mean, look at your role models, right? The thing is, how can we create the environment? How can we create the standards and finally the infallible system that will guide us down the right path to success? And I just want to put out a quick disclaimer, just some few words. Before I share this next part, I'm only telling you what's worked for me, and it might not work for you. What works for you might not work for someone else. Working optimally requires individual experimentation and research. So I'm going to tell you more about this infallible system that I'm talking about. It consists of the following: physiological standards. Think of your health, diet, sleep, exercise, and even your work environment. The second is digital environment optimization. Think of cleaning up our social media, our computers, phones, and other devices. And the third is mental focus, starting with prayer or meditation to increase the quality of the work that we do and how much we can focus. Now, I'm only going to briefly cover over these concepts because otherwise I end up writing an entire book or just creating an entire course right now, which I did. So if you want a deeper dive into an infallible system, check out my other free mini course down in the description below. It's called the Next Level Performance Blueprint, and it'll solve problems such as brain fog, procrastination, confusion, and just having low energy levels. Now, I want to give you the least possible amount of excuses for you to fail. And this needs to happen, especially when we're here trying to achieve what might seem like the top 1% of goals. It's not for everyone. But that being said, I still want to give you 0 chances of you to fail. Now let's cover over the first thing, which is physiological standards. The most productive time in my life was when I worked with my mentor in person. I spent 16 hours a day for 7 days straight, per week, for 3 months, working on a project without feeling burnt out or unmotivated. But I was also arguably the most healthiest in my life that I've ever been. And what I'm going to share with you next is pretty basic, but people don't do it, and I'm not sure why. Actually, no, just kidding. I do know why, and it's ego, but people don't think that the rule of cause and effect apply to them, but that's a story for another time. Here are my standards: 8 hours of sleep most of the time, an hour gym per day, morning meditation, midday sunlight exposure, workspace cleanup, intermittent fasting, 1 liter of water in the morning with electrolytes, black coffee, no sugar, no milk. For sleep, it's obvious. No sleep means no energy. No energy means you feel like shit. You feel like shit means you're not going to get high quality work done. Simple, right? An hour at gym was for me to stay in shape, especially because I spent most of my days indoors, sitting on a chair in front of a screen. Morning meditation was just my way of clearing the thoughts in my mind and just practicing on improving my focus on the task at hand. So I was doing stillness meditation, which is focusing on not moving your body no matter how your mind feels or what it thinks. Think of it as the gym, but for our minds. And next I did sunlight exposure, which was just to regulate my circadian rhythm, and this ties back into sleep. Also, sunlight improves our mood and our emotions, and it just makes us feel better. Workspace cleanup, it just meant that I had to make sure that there wasn't any like garbage laying around from like dishes or just loose papers just flying around. These are distractions and they really take away from our mental focus. And next thing that I did was intermittent fasting. It puts your body in this like state of autophagy. In other words, your body is breaking down the old cells in its body and it's creating new ones from it. So you honestly end up feeling better from eating later in the day than you do in the morning anyways. So for me, my argument is when you eat in the morning, it kind of feels, you feel sort of lazy and a little bit sluggish. Think of running or jogging with a plate of spaghetti inside of your stomach. You don't want to do that. It just doesn't feel good. And the next thing I did was drinking water with electrolytes, which is just to stay hydrated, and it allows me to stay focused. And the black coffee is just to curb my morning hunger, and it provides energy for the day. Now, these are pretty much my physiological standards that I set for myself, and it allowed me to have the most optimal amount of physiological energy for any given day. I didn't get sick, and I was never tired. And when it comes down to this, you have to experiment what works for you. The second thing we need to cover is digital environment optimization. We live in an age where smartphones and social media basically took over the world. And it's never been easier to get information from other sources than today. And as a result of that, the average attention span in our population has decreased. I mean, when was the last time you ever tried to focus on a new project or a task or even schoolwork that would point you in the right direction to changing your life? Think about it for a second. How long were you able to maintain your focus before your phone distracted you? 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 seconds? How many notifications do we get from Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, emails? Everything in this world today was designed to take our attention away from the things that truly matter to us in our lives. Yet, we don't really notice it. And even if we do, we end up going back to old habits and routines that don't serve us. And if we want to combat this and truly build an infallible system for ourselves to reach our goals, then we need to clean up our digital environment. The same way that we clean up our room and our workstation is the same thing that we need to do on our phones and computers. Just as a cluttered room clouds our focus, a cluttered digital space can hinder our mental clarity. The world is headed towards a digital economy. The work we do, the entertainment we enjoy, to the people we speak, it's all going to be online. Now, I'm not sure what goals you have, but I can assume that it has to do with your digital environment, at least on some sort of level. Delete everything that doesn't serve your goals or your purpose or your dreams, and execute on every opportunity that you get that will push you closer towards it. Finally, building mental focus. When I was in my 20s, I used to think that this whole meditation was stupid and that prayer was for like these like hopeless people that believe that, oh, I could just pray my problems away or just meditate and manifest millions of dollars. And that's what I used to think. To get to where you want to be, you just need to take action consistently, right? I mean, I think you guys would agree. No amount of woo-woo magic is going to get you there. The thing is, what I didn't know was that these actions are completely supplemental to our mental health and our mind. More importantly, our mental focus. If I gave you the step-by-step blueprint to make $1 million in 3 years, what does it matter if you can't focus on the actions necessary to reach that goal? And even if you do try taking the right action, what does it matter if the quality of the work you do is garbage? And this goes back to our digital environment, helping us retain our focus. But if you want to take it a step further, the whole purpose of prayer and meditation is to increase our mental focus. Try this exercise when you have time. Choose a project or goal that you'd like to complete, then choose a task that you need to work on and get closer to it. Sit down, focus, and mark down how long you can stay focused on that task for. And if your answer is anything less than 2 hours, then bro, you need help. Start improving your mental focus. Do this by meditating daily. And the focus and quality of work comes as a result of your mental muscle, otherwise known as your mind. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that, yeah, I meditate every day. But the thing is, when I did, I was in a state of extreme clarity, and everything I did just felt of high quality. I felt more present in my life, and not just in my work, but also speaking to my loved ones and playing sports and just hanging out with friends. Everything just feels surreal. It's not this like repetitive loop of this autopilot lifestyle that people are so used to living. And to be honest, many of us need to start living intentionally, but I'm going to get into this another time. We've basically covered what it'll take for you to achieve your version of the top 1% of achievements. Now, the question remains, will you keep doing what you're comfortable with, or embrace a level of belief that others deem to be illusional? The top 1% did not get to their goals by just setting normal borderline goals within their abilities and just playing it safe. They chose to believe in something bigger than their reality, bigger than what everyone else thought possible, and by building a system that makes that vision inevitable. If you're ready to stop moping around and start incorporating what we covered, and obviously if you need additional help, check out the free 2 mini courses down in the description below. Combined, they'll give you everything you need to get clear on what project to work on, how to get there, and how to create standards for yourself to be on a clear path to success. Hope you guys enjoyed, and make sure to follow, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.